Story 1. Routinely getting multiple dishes to finish at more or less the same time for a meal is tricky. It's difficult to get the timing down perfectly, and it's rare that I can pull it off. I'm always amazed at the people who seem to have that skill mastered. Story 2. Fixing your mental health is not a light switch. You can't just undepress yourself, and not everyone has access to mental health services and medication. Trauma can actually change the way your brain functions. Story 3. Cleaning is considered unskilled menial work, but for the life of me, I cannot get my house clean no matter how hard I scrub. Good maids know how to do it. Yes, I've been on cleaning tips. Please don't recommend baking soda or vinegar to me. Story 4. Learning an additional language. I think people who speak only one language really underestimate how difficult it is. And it can be such a frustrating thing to not be able to express yourself as well as you can in your native language. Story 5. Farming. People think it's like a cute little video game. Escape the rat race. Just plant some crops and get some cows, and your stress will just melt away. Get back to nature. As someone who grew up on a farm as the daughter of a lifelong farmer, it's so eye-roll-worthy when people act like it's something you can just do. I've seen people here and in real life acting like it's some sort of dream life. Just get a farm, be your own boss, be self-sufficient. Even if you don't have a troublesome animal like a goat, it's a rough, exhausting life. My dad is proud of his farm, but there's a reason he made sure we left it behind. He's in his 60s. He still has to wake up at dawn. He breaks his back every day. It's rough manual labor. There's no clocking out or set breaks. You aren't done until you're done. We grew food, but obviously didn't rely on it solely. You don't just plant things and end up with a huge amount of perfect crops. Disease, bugs, you name it, will take a lot. You think your cat's veterinarian bill was bad? Try a herd. You hate that remodeling you did a couple of years back? Livestock break things all the time, have fun. Ever try to sell an old computer? Frustrating, right? They back out, try to take advantage of you. Now imagine that computer is a several hundred-pound animal you have to continue to feed every day it doesn't sell. Your job, the roof over your head, is dependent on not getting ignored by that guy who messaged you. You can't just skip out because the new video game is out. There's no calling out sick. It's every day. Everyone has to pitch in. You can't just relax after school. You have to help out. You'll be too exhausted for each other. My dad made sure we at least had dinner together every night. But a lot of the time, he had to go back out afterward. He did his best, and we found a way to make it into play, but he couldn't just hang out and play with his kids. He was too tired when he could finally be done. My dad, thankfully, made his farm work. He made time for us when he could. And I'm glad I learned the value of labor. I physically got to see the results of a hard day's work. I was a kid surrounded by animals. I got to play in the fresh air, eat fresh food right there in my yard. My dad always loved how he could stand on the porch and be proud of what he made. He had a physical representation of his abilities. There are good aspects, of course there are, but it's not the ideal living situation a lot of people make it out to be. If it's going to be your life, it's going to be your life. Story 6. Learning a new skill as an adult. Maintaining a great marriage. Overcoming childhood patterns and habits. Taking control of your mindset to combat anxiety and depression. Story 7. Get out of depression. They always have solutions, but those solutions are either temporary or ineffective. If you're depressed, go to the gym, go out more, get off the phone, socialize. Story 8. Keeping your head above water financially. For the vast, nearly complete entirety of the human population, we are all one bad incident away from being completely ruined no matter how hard we've worked. Story 9. A lot of people like to criticize fast food workers, but many wouldn't last an entire shift doing what they do. I wouldn't even do that job for $20 an hour. Story 10. People struggle to understand other people's struggles. I do not like sweetness. I reject all sweet foods. People often attribute some sort of morality to my dislike of sweets. There is no moral aspect or self-control involved. I just do not like sweet things. I know people who chase food like I would chase an orgasm. So I can stay skinny easily and think that there must be something morally corrupt with the person who has a huge appetite, but actually, their struggle is so much greater than mine. Story 11. Being a public school teacher. People sort of got it during the pandemic, but wow, does our government make it as hard as they possibly can. Want to switch districts? Do not expect to be paid for your years of service. Parental leave? Pay the district and the state back for the time they deducted from your paycheck so you can retire on time. Like your kids and want to raise them right? Hope your spouse can pick up the slack you have to relinquish because you're raising other people's kids. Have people treat you like you are not intelligent because you are a teacher? All day, every day. Still love it, though? Reluctantly, yes. It's a great job if you don't care about yourself too much. Story 12. Conflict management. Just the skill set of being able to respectfully talk to someone to gain trust, illustrate diplomacy, and find a solution together. So many people never learn this and would rather write people off. Story 13. Pulling yourself out of the black hole that is addiction and trauma and doing the work to heal and fully experience life. All the sorrow and all the joy. If you can do that, I do not think there is much you cannot do. Story 14. Pole fitness. Seriously, you have probably all seen your female friends pulling off some wobbly moves on social media and not given it a second thought. Try it. It's really quite hard. Story 15. Find work. People tell me to find a second job to help with bills. It's as if everyone around me is hiring in the middle of the slowest season of the year. Story 16. As someone with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and autism, focusing is challenging for me. Unlike typical individuals, I have sensory issues, specifically with hearing, which make it harder for me to focus on top of the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's even worse if I don't have music. I kind of need music to block out my ever-racing thoughts and keep me sane. Story 17. Replying to text messages. I felt depressed during the pandemic and developed a habit of uninstalling WhatsApp multiple times. I stopped doing it a year later after I lost an entire chat history, but I'm still struggling not to uninstall the app even today. I currently feel very tempted to uninstall it again. Story 18. Raising young kids without a village. After my first child, I knew parenting would be hard. Even without much help from family, I could at least go to the doctor without panicking about what to do with my kids. After having my second and moving to a new state for my husband's job, wow. I had no idea. I stay home with the kids. There are no breaks. You are on all the time. You don't get to go places alone, no one to babysit, and the amount of things you can't get done because there are small children around just mounts and mounts. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm so envious of people with parents that want to spend time with their grandkids. Neither set of grandparents has come to visit us, and we've been only 5 hours away for a year and a half. We see people here whose parents literally drop anything and everything just to give their grandbabies a hug. I would do anything for any kind of support. The mental toll it takes on you when it never stops is heavy. Story 19. The work tradespeople do. Taping and mudding drywall, cutting a proper miter joint, clean electrical or cabling installation, straight tile installation without lippage, setting a door frame, installing a door properly, or even laying something out and keeping things square to each other and in the correct spot. The professionals make it look easy, but it's not. Story 20. Stop drinking if you are an alcoholic. To non-alcoholics, it can seem like the most obvious thing to do, but for those who are alcoholic, it can feel like trying to stop breathing. Story 21. Lose weight. Some of my skinny friends are never hungry. I'm hungry all the time. I ate a big meal 30 minutes ago, and yet I feel like eating something. Even though I'm so full, I can't even swallow it. I believe this feeling of constant hunger is the genetic reason why overweight people are overweight, including me. Story 22. A buddy of mine said a guy told them that sex work is easy because you just have to have sex with old guys. No, sex work can get very difficult and hard to do at times. It's never really easy, and it's never just having sex with old guys. There's a long, stressful process to being successful in sex work, but some people apparently don't get that. Story 23. I experienced the other side of the spectrum of this. Customers were angels, but the management was filled with greedy demons who, If you can't extract money from a customer, will legitimately start causing problems. Story 24, 1. Applying just the right amount of pressure while cracking an egg for an omelet so that no eggshell falls into the mix. No one wants to eat omelets with crunchy parts. Remaining sane. In this very specific order. Story 25. Staying consistent, whether it is sticking to a workout routine, maintaining a healthy diet, or keeping a productive schedule. Consistency can be way harder than people realize. Story 26. This is a niche scene thing, but being a techno DJ, people who listen to techno will get this. There is this meme that everyone is a techno DJ these days, but the truth is, while everyone has a mixer at home, actually DJing is not easy. It's hard to learn and even harder to master. Story 27. When I program solutions, I'm not just programming the solution and how it works, but trying to think of all the users who will do anything but follow the path I've created. I opened up the back end of a database I wrote years ago, and the number of hacks users had done to get it to work how they wanted it to made my eyes bleed. So, in short, I have to put myself into various levels of intelligence, thinking of every what would you do and controlling it. My brain is tired. Story 28. Selling. It is not hard at all for people who have been doing it forever. The type of thing being sold, the type of customer, and market conditions all play into success or not. I am not in sales. I have been, and I liked it, but it did not appeal to the side of me that loves the details of things like numbers. There is too much detail in many sales cycles. Story 29. Most people think farming is just about planting seeds in the ground, waiting, and then harvesting the vegetables. Many urban Americans think of farmers as unsophisticated. Meanwhile, John Deere has transitioned into an artificial intelligence company with self-driving tractors. And the majority of our chemical industry either produces chemicals to grow crops or processes crops into final products. We apply enough pesticides and artificial fertilizers to our grain that if someone consumed dent corn, I am fairly sure it could have bizarre side effects. Story 30. Saving money and actually not spending it. Going to bed early even when you are not tired. Eating only when you are actually hungry, not just bored. Not scrolling your phone before sleep. Doing what you need to, not just what you feel like. Story 31. Bootstrapping an idea to make money. It's easier, way easier if you have money, but when you don't, you have to be much more creative, so poorer developers have much harder tasks than wealthy ones. Story 32. Driving. So many people do not do what they are supposed to do. Most people cannot and do not park correctly. Everyone says it is so easy, and I think to myself, then why do not most people do it well? I had a rough time learning to drive. I studied the driver's book thoroughly because I thought everyone knew these laws and behaviors backward and forward. Then I got to a four-way light that was out right after I got my license. Fine. God. Okay, I am done. Driving. My answer is driving. Story 33. Fabricating dentures. Worked in a dental laboratory and learned most things that go into the mouth require a lot of adjusting and tweaking to fit the person they are made for. Even then, there are still changes to be made once the product goes into the patient's mouth. Story 34. Build, run, and maintain the federal government for a massive country of 335 million people. Most people just do not appreciate how much government does to protect and make life possible for ordinary people in a modern, democratic, developed country. Corporations and businesses are also essential for life, but their priorities are profit and they are not incentivized to always serve the public good. Story 35. Any sort of blue-collar trade. As funny as how seeing someone who's sat at a desk their whole life try and do something simple like operate a pallet jack. Story 36. Dealing with unpleasant people. Dealing with people is difficult enough when they are supposedly sane, well-adjusted, and may even care about your feelings. Now try setting a boundary with somebody who not only has no respect for your boundaries but doesn't believe you should have them in the first place. Or worse, takes it as a serious challenge. There are some people who just cannot be reasoned with, but you don't have the option of telling them to leave you alone. Story 37. Clearly, it's easier than using a shovel, but using a big, heavy snowblower is actually a lot of work. Part of it's my fault that I don't use the reverse function. I just drag the thing backwards. Story 38. Process trauma. Some people avoid processing it, so they turn to drugs or other vices. Unfortunately, it does not help. It just prolongs their healing. Some people will die that way, which is very sad. Story 39. Driving a race car on the limit. Most people think it's just pressing the gas and turning, but it takes a lot of hand-eye coordination and good reflexes to drive any car on the racetrack to its full potential. Story 40. Having to remain civil and give people a chance to repair the trust they broke, especially when they don't ever seem to, but instead make things worse. But you're the bad person for trying. People are difficult. Story 41. Dying or killing. Humans can be horrifyingly difficult to kill. This creates opportunities for torture to last a very long time, especially if intentional. Story 42. Being a DJ and producing your own music. A lot of people think it's just tapping buttons and doesn't take much skill. My boyfriend produces electronic dance music, and it takes a lot of work and knowledge. Story 43. As I'm learning myself, having children seems like everyone else around me is having them without any issue or effort, and we've been trying for nearly 3 years now.